to see. But we do have some big news coming out tomorrow. And this afternoon is, the number that I give for next week after the API numbers come out this afternoon is going to be, well, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Because, we had a 10 bagger on the one I gave out last week. And this week, with the big move that we had today, in that 15-minute bar, that one span right there of 15 minutes. You see it's on the 15-minute, it's pulled back up to the BBC, but on the 30-minute, the BBC is right at the 61.8 retracement. Right there. So it's probably going to head back up to 61. Now, earlier today, I was saying 60.80, and I'm still saying I think it's going to pull back up to 60.80. It's just got to probably muddle around a little bit here at the BBC on the 15-minute and then work its way up. That's my thought. All right. So now I'll go back over here. Okay. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures at the bottom. Today is the 17th day of September 2019. We made 1 tick on the euro, 44 ticks in crude, 10 ticks in gold, and we lost 8 ticks on the ES. Put us at 446.25 on the morning session. And today it took 10 minutes and 1 trade to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $100 a contract, and we took a total of 14 trades. On the month now, we're up $2,558. That's over 11 trading days, averaging $232 per day. And on the year, we're at $27,326. That's over 167 days, averaging $163 per day. Okay, if you have not taken a free trial with us, go to the home page at CFRN.net. And over here in the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial, apply.CFRN.net. If you click on that, you'll be brought to this page where all we ask for is your name, your email, your phone number, and you can tell us your biggest trading challenge if you want. So we can tailor one-on-one training specifically for you. Hit the send button, and you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must hit the confirmation link. Okay, we don't know you took the trial if you don't hit the link. There. Whew. Okay, and with that, we can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, overlooking the South Mountain, America's largest city park, where Dwayne is now functioning and operational.
Yes, indeed. Operational eye. Okay, let me get the charts. Recap of the recap.
Today it took 10 minutes and 1 trade. It was actually not $100 a contract. It was $110 a contract. So I'll fix that in the spreadsheet.
Okay.
But that was it.
All right, let me get a chart up there. Chart. Now, folks, if you've ever wondered what it looks like when the S&P 500 Emini Futures goes sideways for an extended period of time, well, this is pretty much it.
Yes, it is.
Right here, right now. I see a question in the chat box. Did you already answer that?
Yeah, that was from Joan. She's wondering if you got YouTube going.
I did, Joan. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's up and running now. A little computer hiccup here on a Tuesday morning. So what else is going on? Anything?
Well, we got FOMC tomorrow, and I suspect that's why the markets are so sideways right now.
Yeah, last night I commented. I was hoping I was wrong, but Globex was looking sideways-ish, and I said I think we may see a sideways shuffle into the Fed on Wednesday. That's exactly. If this sideways stuff continues, not traditionally, but something I've seen in the past is you get sideways like this, and then maybe a couple of hours before the Fed announcement, you get a little flurry of activity one way or the other as people think they've figured out what's going to happen, and then they're jockeying to position themselves to trade the Fed, which is something we don't do and we don't recommend doing. Tell them why, Michael.
Right. The only time I've ever had a stop totally skipped was when I was trading during a Fed announcement. And, you know, the one tomorrow could cause a lot of activity, especially if it's coiling up like it is right now. You know, right now, people are just putting on positions and putting on positions and putting on positions. And if people were taking them off, well, they'd be going down. And so they're just swapping spots right now. And, you know, this is probably one of the flattest days we've had in a very long time on the ES. You know, lately the ES has actually been giving up some trade setups. I mean, yesterday we had what, 5? Yeah, 5 of them, and I missed some. The day before that we had, well, we didn't have any, but when it's just going sideways like this, it's saying danger, danger. And you know, in the past, like, you know, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe, when the Fed announcements came out, the markets would, you know, the ES in particular, would jump up and down. You know, it would gap up and down and up and down and up and down. And yeah, that was the only time I ever had a stop jumped. You know, I've had stops slipped a lot, but
it's an attractive thing if you're on the right side of the move. But
yeah,
you know, early on, I tried trading the Fed like others do, and sometimes I would do okay, and other times I would do not okay. And I did it enough times to figure out that it was like flipping a coin at best. Really, for me, I could never take trading any kind of news, especially the Fed, beyond what I have to classify as just gambling. It was like, you know, close your eyes, roll the dice, scream, baby needs a new pair of shoes, and hope for the best. And that's not really trading, you know. That's what I said. It's gambling. So that's why I stay away from it. Now, there are people out there who trade news. That's their thing. Just like we do technical analysis and we trade based on that. They have a knack. They've learned. Somebody probably taught them how to trade the news. Like the one guy that we had on the show here a few times years ago. What was his name? Michael X.
Michael X. Never gave us his last name.
Right.
Used to trade couple thousand contracts a day.
I think he traded like 10,000 a day.
Something like that. I think he traded like a couple thousand at a time. And he
right. Yeah. He didn't put on 10,000 at one time, but over the course of a session, he would average about 10,000.
Yeah.
You know, if anybody, he was a real interesting guy. Let's see, Michael X CFRN. So if you Google Michael X CFRN, I think it comes up. Yeah, interview with Michael X, Emini Futures trader. So that one was February 29th.
2012.
Okay, here's day 2. Oh, I think this is a week. 2012. Wow, time flies. You know, he was on about 4 different times, I think.
Yeah, he usually came on with David.
But if you Google it, you'll get what I just got, and then just click on one of them, and that'll take you here. What is this? Interview with Michael X. If you're not able to listen to, okay, S&P 500 as well as other Dow futures both failed to hold on to the early gains. On today's program, we had the opportunity to talk to our friend and frequent guest, Michael X. This is about more than trading large or living large. I popped a key question on him last year or the year before. I popped it again today, and guess what? His answer hasn't changed. Life's funny that way. The facts may change, but truth never does. If you weren't able to listen to the interview live today, you may already have some preconceived notions about what you're going to hear. I ask you to put them aside for the next hour and do more than just listen. I ask you to actually hear what he has to say. Let it resonate. No matter how many contracts you trade, this interview, if you click there or up there, you can listen to it, has the power to help you become the trader you've always wanted to be. He'll be back with us again Thursday and Friday, live from Las Vegas. Tune in, bring your questions.
But at the end of the day is he was happy to make 2 points a day.
That's right. After we
Trading
talked,
all those contracts.
Yep. I asked him. This was unrehearsed, unscripted. I just asked him. At some point in these interviews, I said, "Well, so what do you consider a guy like you? What do you consider to be a good day in the markets?" And interestingly enough, he didn't attach a dollar sign to anything. Now, this is a person who, over the course of an average session, will trade on average 10,000 S&P E-mini contracts. His answer, it really just kind of made the world stand still for a moment, because you guys know what Michael and I preach. And so out of his mouth came, well, for me, a good day in the market is any day that I can take 2 points, like Michael just said, 2 points out of the market. And there was a collective gasp in the studio audience and around the world. And that's what I'm talking about here when I say, kind of let it sink in what he's saying. He's got that much horsepower, that much firepower. But at the end of the day, he's no different than one of our brand new traders who's qualified to go live, and now they're live with one contract. What are you looking for? Well, if you're following the 2420 blueprint, you're looking for 2 points. What an incredible equalizer. What a level playing field. So, yeah, I don't know how to reach him anymore since we lost our contact.
Yeah, I don't know where he is today, Karen. I know the last conversation we had with him, he borrowed his friend's jet and flew from somewhere in South America to Las Vegas to, well, I assume to gamble as well as to have a conversation with us. And that was the last time we talked to him.
Okay, so guys, if you do this, go to CFRN.net. From the homepage, you just click E-mini Radio Blog, and then you'll end up on this page. It's like a directory. These are all individual posts and podcasts and radio shows. So on your keyboard, if you go Control F, it opens up a find box. And if you type in there, Michael, it finds 4 instances of that name on this page. Now here's 3 of them right here. I guess this was day 1, day 2, day 3. So where's the 4th instance?
I think it was like a year before.
No, it found you're the.
No, it found me.
You're the 4th
Okay.
instance right there.
I was wondering why my name's not in there anywhere.
So this was one occasion of interviews, but there's some more in here somewhere. I guess I just didn't use his name in the title. So, but these 3 will give you just, if you listen to those, you'll get an idea of what it's like. I mean, now you would think somebody like that would be pounding their chest and bragging about their exploits and, telling you how large they really live. But he was kind of a quiet, unassuming guy. And this was properly vetted. I mean, it's not like he blew smoke up our chimney to the tune of 10,000 contracts. It is a real story, a true story. But he was just kind of matter of fact. Well, how did you come to trade so many contracts, Michael? His answer was just, he said, well, I started out with 1, and then as I figured out what I was doing, I added a few more, and then, I just kept adding, and so now here I am. That's how someone who's actually arrived, someone who's actually done more than probably you and I mean, all of us have our dreams and aspirations as a trader. Maybe you see yourself someday as trading 20 contracts, or maybe you see yourself someday trading 100 contracts. There might even be somebody in the audience that actually fancies trading, 1,000 at some point, if you're young. Because that's a young man's game. But 10,000? I mean, really. So, all right. I guess I should do the Concierge Trade Alerts. I don't think we're going to see a lot, guys, because of, well, because of what you see right in front of you. But let's at least, let's make the effort. All right. Get rid of that. Now, these are not this week's zones. This week's zones went out to partners and passport holders Monday morning, yesterday, at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Let me just bring up. And I didn't do the daily double, guys, because I was having a computer issue, but I'll do my best to just send one out right after the show today.
Man, it's too bad you didn't have a short there on the crude today.
Oh, let me take a look at Crude.
You didn't see it? There's a 15-minute candle that went $4.
Oh, look at that. That one?
Yeah. That's the 30-minute, but yeah. And
What
now...
What were you looking at, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I was looking at 15.
Okay, there's 15, right. Okay, I got it.
But that big 15-minute candle, there were so many trade opportunities on that thing.
Alexa, what's 6225?
Please say that again.
Alexa, what's 6225 minus 5956?
6,225 minus 5,956 is 269.
Did she get that right?
$2.69 is what it comes up to, roughly.
Okay.
I think is what she's saying.
So $2,690 per contract traded. Well, I guess that's a good enough place as any to start with the Concierge. Let's see what we got there.
Yeah.
All right, guys, if you want to grab a screenshot, here you go.
And that option from last week, that was at 31 cents when I recommended it. Was it $4.78 this morning?
Okay, it went from how much to how much again?
31 cents to $4.
Wow.
And 78 cents.
Wow. That's a good big go.
That one was.
All right, so on the Concierge last night, they got out at 6:35 p.m. Eastern. Crude, consider being short, at or below 60.60. So, important prices, important areas. Almost always tested. Did it make it? What's the swing high right here? 60.57. What's the swing high right here? 60.61. All right. Now, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, right here it is, Crude. It's 6:35 last night. We told all of our traders, if Crude gets down to 60.60, you just might want to consider being short. So, here's 60.60. And the swing low. Alexa, what's 60.60 minus 58.74?
6,060 minus 5,874 is 186.
All right. So this is a $1,860 move right here. Right here.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Okay. Well, you did real fine. Thank you. All right. Now, this important prices, important areas, almost always tested. I can't imagine a better example to show you and try to drive this point home.
The 60.60 right there is BBC.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to layer that on. Now this swing high, right there, 60.61. So sometimes, guys, it won't quite make it, and I'll say, look, you can see how it was reaching up. It was just trying to get there. It was just trying to touch it so that it could, continue with the trend. And
it's a 50% retracement as well. And
Okay, let me do that. I'll draw the fib from the high to the low. Spot on 50% Fibonacci retracement. The weekly trading zone was... Weekly trading zone was... Now this disturbs the fantasy just a little bit, but not really. So there's 60-70. Well, we do say zones are an area. Now here comes the BBC. There it is. So when price pulls up to the BBC, we expect it to be good resistance till it isn't, and it was. Zones are an area, and when price pulls up to a weekly trading zone, we expect it to be good resistance until it isn't, and it was.
Now flip that to a 30-minute, and you'll see the next thing.
Oh, flip it to a 30? Okay. Oh, I forgot I was on a 15-minute chart.
Yeah. The next level up, 61.8.
Mm-hmm.
Is where the BBC is.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so
on my 30-minute, right. Yeah, I forgot I was on the 15-minute there.
Yeah.
So that's an $1,800 per contract move. For the trader who's earned the right to trade not 10,000 contracts, but just 10, that's an $18,000 move. Now, we know getting out of the swing low or the swing high of any market, any time frame, is real hard to do because you don't know it's a swing high or swing low until after the fact. So,
hey, John just popped in.
Did he? Okay. Well, good timing. I guess we'll open his mic and.
Yep, I just opened.
Hello.
It.
Hey, John. Welcome to the show.
Hey,
Hi there. Thanks. Good morning, Mike and Dwayne. Yeah, we did get this bit of a break. Somebody told me yesterday, who's pretty clued in, that the Saudis, even though they said that it's been disrupted, it looks like they might be getting a lot or most all of that oil back online. It's about hard to imagine, but could be happening. You know, he thinks that they fixed. You know, they had a team all ready to go in and you know, fix things up pretty quickly. So I wouldn't rule that out. And given what's happened, you know, we came down and made a slightly lower low before this rally.
John, which market are we on?
Like we might
John,
see a bit more
market?
downside testing.
John, which market?
On the oil market, on the one we're looking at.
Oh, the crude. Okay, I just want to make sure I had the right chart up. Okay.
Yeah, you might have to go to the November November chart, because I think that expires in a couple of days. This one.
Michael, when are we going to roll crude?
Let me check. Let me just check.
Yeah. Also, that I think it expires on the 20th. That contract. Oh, by the way, if you want to pull up the euro, remember the call we made yesterday about the dollar, the euro taking off? Incredibly strong buy signal. It's up substantially today. And
yeah,
probably,
within the next day or two. I'm sorry, John, I don't mean to interrupt. Within the next day or two, Dwayne, we'll be rolling to the X contract.
We'll be rolling to X in a couple of days?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you could put the euro up.
I'm headed that way. 60Z. There we go. You want to see it on a daily, John, or?
Yeah, look at that. What's that? A 30-minute?
This is 30 minutes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty positive, pretty dramatic. So.
How about the pound? Did it follow suit?
The pound, yes, it has. It's up a new high today.
Okay, because we had a swing trade alert last night on the pound. Let me see where we sit on that thing.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I do, you know, I'm not following the British politics minute by minute. I'm trying to keep a reasonable abreast of it, but you know, there is talk of a second referendum, and all I can tell you is, if that happens, The pound, I think the pound would go to $1.40 or 50 very, very quickly, maybe even $1.60. And I think it could change the vote because while there may be a lot of people who are leaning towards a Brexit at the moment, if they suddenly find their pound has gone up by 30 or 40%, since the referendum, they might vote the other way. They might say, "Forget it, we'll stay with Europe." So it could happen. And I still think it's a pretty tight deal, the whole thing, because a lot of people had a gut feel of it one way or another. And it's incredibly disruptive, this whole thing, because all the people who, the biggest thing about the European was the freedom of movement.
Right.
And to be able, if you got a British passport, you're going to live and work in 26
Yeah, you just jump on the
countries.
train. I mean, you want to have dinner in Paris, you just jump on the train. The
Yeah,
metro,
no,
or whatever they call
it's
it.
kind of super cool, and I just saw, in the Daily Mail a couple of days ago, they showed this 12-bedroom mansion for sale, just like 55 minutes from London, like probably near a train station somewhere over in France.
Right.
I mean, you can get to London quicker than you can from Croydon, almost. That's an amazing thing. And this 12-bedroom mansion with all kinds of beautiful farm attached to it was going for about 400 grand. I mean, the price of a regular house, almost.
Wow.
So.
Their real estate got overheated when ours did back in 2005 time frame. But my wife's commented that a lot of the prices have come down. And if you want to live in France, if you want to live out in the countryside, you can actually find some pretty affordable estates. Actually, you can find some real cheap that have fallen into disrepair. That the owners just haven't been able to keep them up. So you got to have the money not only to buy it, but you got to be able to maintain it. And maintaining a big estate, it's no easy task. It's not cheap.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's but I mean, Portugal is even cheaper right now. I think Portugal is really, really very affordable. You can pick up a lot. There's a lot of villages in Portugal, very, the kind of villages to die for. Very historic and vintage, quaint. A lot of people have moved away. And actually, this is a very big deal going on around the world because there's about 250 people leaving New York every day, and then there's probably the same amount or more, maybe 500,000 people a day moving into Florida. Pushes up prices, and so there's a lot of economic opportunity in sometimes taking advantage of. It's just kind of like Detroit. Back in 09, 10, it was really, we could buy 1,000. Remember the guy who bought 100 houses or 1,000 houses for like $100 each or something. So,
if I'm not mistaken, there's still some, I think the city of Detroit, I think they still have some inventory of houses that they'll practically give them to you because otherwise they're going to have to spend money to go in and tear them down.
Yeah, and this place, look, there's a place over in Sicily. There's a village, so it's a village. I think you can pick up a house for next to nothing. You have about 3 years to repair it, something like that. You have to spend a certain amount repairing it, but there's definitely some interesting buys, and in some other European countries as well. So, but I think this. Can you put up the daily on the
pound? Absolutely. Yeah. So guys, this swing trade, if we make it to the final target on this pound swing trade, it's going to be worth about $2,000 per contract traded. So you might want to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, that pound's looking pretty bullish, actually, especially when you get that kind of a downer and then an upper afterwards. That's usually very positive. And look at the spike bottom we made. The same as the euro. If you can pull up the euro and compare,
sure.
It really looks like the pound's going back to 130 here. And listen, it's sort of like, even if we're only about 40 days away from Brexit, assuming it happens on Halloween. there's been so much anticipation of this thing that we might be looking at a relief rally or something a lot more dramatic, So I think today's action in the euro that we're looking at is constructive. It's not, as we've said, at all these bottoms, be careful, because, there's always a chance of one more retest or two.
Now,
but
when the euro came out, John, and we were talking about the Brexit, we're talking about them leaving the European Union. What will their currency be? Will it revert to just what it was before?
You mean Britain? What are you talking about?
Yeah, with Britain, right. I mean, will they?
No, they've got the pound. I mean, they never joined the euro deal. That's the difference. That's That's the difference between Britain and all the other members.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Ireland, on the contrary, did go for the euro, and the best thing they ever did, because they're like the 5th richest country in the world today, which is just amazing. And actually, it's going up the list of I looked at the list of most expensive places to live. Switzerland is number 1. US is actually way down, I think, and Ireland is number 10 now, and I think it's Luxembourg, Norway, a few other places like that. The Bahamas is number 5 on the list. So it's
10 wealthiest nations. Now, this may be a different list than yours.
It might be out of date. That possibly the
this
thing.
One,
But,
this is a 2018 list. I got Hong Kong,
yeah,
Switzerland.
Ireland's definitely up there, because the last time I looked, it pulled ahead of Qatar. So.
Bahrain, France. Japan, Finland. Though Finland wasn't doing so good, apparently they are. Australia, Sweden, Germany. Are we not even on the list?
Yeah, Ireland was minimum wage. I think the minimum wage in Ireland, they're about number US. 5 in the world.
There's that one right there.
Ireland. Yeah.
Ahead of the U.S. We're on this list. We're at number 11.
Their GDP per capita terrain is about 80,000. It's not 60,000.
Okay.
It's about 80 today, so that's a huge number. In fact, go further down the list and see where the 80 starts. Excuse me. Yeah, you're sort of right now. They see the Kuwait at 83. I think Ireland would be next after Kuwait today.
Okay, gotcha.
So.
This is interesting. The life expectancy, 78, 82, 77, 74, 77, 82.
Switzerland,
now,
look at that.
From 77 to 82 or 83, that's 6 years. I mean,
I think
that's
the
more than an
mountain
anomaly.
air has a lot to do with it.
So here's 84.
Yeah.
In Ecuador, they have what they call the Valley. I can't remember the Spanish name, but it stands for the Valley of Longevity. People that live in this particular valley, almost everybody lives to be 100.
By the way, the Irish GDP is like 480 or somewhere. It's getting close to $500 billion.
Gotcha.
So that's definitely the latest. So I did tell a few people, and we may have mentioned it on the show. I think we talked about going long. The JNUG calls at 60, just hit 70 this morning. So that would mean a pretty quick $10 gain.
Good call, JNUG. I'll bring up the chart.
Yeah, I'm not 100% 100% certain that we've seen the lows in the JNUG yet. But the gold has definitely been acting better since this thing. Look, when you look at that bottom, if you could just open it up a little bit, like you had a second ago. Yeah, I mean, look at that. That's a pretty, that could be it. And we talked about this the other day. Remember, we said the JNUG might go a bit lower. And remember, it looks like a perfect kind of a 3-wave. Now, if you pull up the nugget, NUGT, If that's a three waiver, Dwayne, I can't even, you can't even fathom where the nugget's going to go. It's probably going to go to 150 or higher if that is a three waiver. And look at that double bottom here.
That's almost a parabolic move on a daily chart.
Yeah. Now look, this double bottom, if it holds, and it kind of looks like it's going to hold, because of that little gap up here today. And if it might be. Listen, I would if there is a sort of a spike down move on the Fed, could happen with the JNUG and the nugs and even the gold and silver. If they sort of get anywhere near last week's lows, I would, or a bit lower, I would absolutely, I would be, once we've seen a turn, because I don't like to buy until the turn is made. So once you see credible signs of a bottom, I think you definitely want to go, get what you can. If you go back to the JNUG for a second.
Sure.
What usually happens with the JNUG, which is has been a little bit weaker than the nugget, in the sense that it went lower here, but it looks more like a three waiver. That measured move, boy, it really does send. It does put the next target up around 150, or even maybe even to 200. And remember, when what usually happens is, as the next up phase in the gold happens, the juniors, a lot of the juniors haven't moved yet, but when the juniors do move, they're going to outperform the senior, the bigger stocks in a big way. I also mentioned the other day that Newmont, NEM, if you look at Newmont,
okay,
was probably the safer buy of this, because it hasn't pulled back. It's much stronger than any other gold stock right now. So it looks like a fairly good bet, although I don't like the two spikes. That's what leads me to believe there might be one more test down towards the 38, 37 area, something like that. But I think any 37, 38 would be a very good place to try and get a long position on. The Royal Gold also has gone a bit weaker. It once again had a terrific rally from the 120s. So,
which one?
Yeah, the RGLD.
RGLD. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it looks pretty bullish, this stock again. Look at it. I mean, this this thing could really take another big leg up.
Yeah, if it can get, if it can see 132, let's, yeah. Hey, this is an all-time historic high, right?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, yeah. And as we were looking at CVX yesterday, Chevron, I think Chevron looks a lot like Royal Gold. It actually looks very good, this stock, for a possible move up to about 150. I mean, these, by the way, one thing that probably didn't get much coverage is they're saying there are more attacks are planned against Saudi Arabia. So I mean,
well, the fact that they got away with this drone attack, that's what I've heard too, is that it's kind of they've found a hole in the fence, and they're going to exploit it until they figure out some way to close that hole up. Because where a normal aircraft couldn't have come in and did what it did, but this drone just slipped right in.
Well, the way they came through Kuwait, apparently into Saudi Arabia, and maybe they weren't looking at Kuwait particularly as a vulnerability. Maybe they're going to fix that now, but the Russians, first of all, they had the goal to offer the Saudis to buy the S-400, their state-of-the-art air defense system that they sold to Turkey, claiming they can shoot down anything. And secondly, there's some tweets I saw yesterday from a few interesting guys who suggest that Russia might have been behind it in some way, or number one, they wanted to test their, we talked about the drones yesterday, whether they ripped off the U.S. technology. cruise missiles. You know, we don't know whether they're Iranian cruise missiles or whether they were purchased from somebody else, but they certainly did their job, that's for sure, and they were very accurate. And there was only one or two misses. I think they found one drone that didn't work out, and one cruise missile. So you know, it was a pretty pretty successful attack.
I saw a picture the other day. Two guys both wearing red baseball caps. One says "Make America Great Again." The other one says "Make Turkey Armenia Again."
Oh, really? How about that?
Oh, that was funny. Yeah.
How about
What else
that?
you want to look at?
So, you know, we could look at the lumber.
Okay.
The lumber looks interesting.
Lumber futures. There we go. 371.30.
Kind of it looks like that's not such a great chart, actually.
Well, you've got an ascending price channel here. I can see that without even drawing the lines. Right there, right there.
If that uptrend line breaks, that could be a problem. The coffee is pulling back again too. You might want to check out the coffee today, and the cotton as well.
Okay, coffee. There's coffee.
Oh, it's only pulling back a little bit right now. It looks like a lot more. No, there's something wrong there. I'm showing it as down.
Now, John, I had this on
that
coffee
an end
for
of
whatever
day?
reason. Yeah, I just have end of day data
Okay.
on coffee.
Okay.
And then
Same.
cotton. Let's see. I don't know if I have I don't know what I've got for cotton. Let's see. Cotton futures. Oh yeah, I can't ever seem to get a decent chart on cotton. I don't know why that is.
You can see it's gone up a good bit.
Cotton. I think let's try this one. Okay, that looks a little better.
Yeah, I think the cotton looks I would probably put a buy stop above like 60, 61 even.
So is that 62
rather.
Is that
Yeah, I think a buy stop.
62.59 a bale? Cotton comes in
Yeah,
bales.
a buy stop around 62 could be, that's on the December cotton, could be a pretty useful place to have a possible to capture upside move. The other thing that's acting quite well today is the cocoa, or has been recently.
Cocoa futures. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that does look strong.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of looks like it might be headed back to the highs again.
And this is an end of day chart too, so I don't know what it looks like right now.
It's up a little bit more today.
Okay.
The grains, I would say, if you want to look at the beans, the thing that's the problem with the grains is the soy meal, which we might want to take a look at as well.
All right, here's soybean futures.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to probably have a buy stop there at 9,000. 900 rather, because I think if we go back up through there, we're going to go probably a lot higher. If you look at the soy meal, I think the picture's a lot more.
Let me scrunch this on. In fact,
Yeah.
I want to look at these soybeans just real quick here on a weekly. So we had $18 soybeans back in 2012. Beans in the teens. I mean, that's really beans in the teens there. $18 a bushel. That's $10 more. That's more than double the price right now. Or it basically, call this $9. Yeah, it's trading at a 50% discount. Why
But it's
do you
interesting.
think that is?
Look at the over the last decade.
Why do you think the prices are so low, John?
Because of the crops, because the harvest is so good, and the swine, apparently they've lost about 100 million pigs over in China, and yeah, it's a terrible thing.
Why did it happen?
Swine flu.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. I didn't. Is there an ongoing epidemic of that?
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
I
it's a
didn't
really
know.
big deal. And it's in other places. I think it's spreading to Vietnam and a few other places. But the so the pigs, they don't have the demand for the grains, period,
Gotcha.
like they used to. And so it's really a combination of those two factors that are keeping the price down here.
Now, what was the other one you said? Soy meal.
Soy meal, yeah, and the soy meal, when soy meal is weaker than beans, you usually have to be very careful. And
Here's the
soy meal
meal.
is almost at a 2-year low, so you got to be very, very careful when that's the case. You need to see the meal leading the way, not the oil, not the oil. Oil actually had quite a strong day yesterday, so I think that's a reasonable guide, for a breakout on the beans, because there's no warning usually when this stuff goes up. Trump puts out a tweet or something, or if China suddenly announces they're actually buying some grains, which they sort of hinted they're going to. That could really set up the next up trade. And there's an outside chance that if we do get out of this range, you could be looking at a really strong bull move, of some significance. It would be just starting in the fall, but it would be a potential 9-month kind of move into next summer. Let's look at the silver, Dwayne, today.
Silver, sure. Now, you said yesterday, John, that you thought the Fed might actually give us a 0.5 point this time. Is that still your thoughts?
Say again, sorry?
Do you still think the Fed's going to give us a 0.5 point cut?
It's an outside chance. It's almost for sure it's going to be a quarter, but I wouldn't rule out a half.
I think the consensus on the street's a quarter now and then a quarter in December.
Yeah. But they may. I think if they do a half, Trump would be very pleased, and
He would,
might
yes.
lay off them. So that you never
He
know.
might take his boot off of Rome's throat.
Yeah. Can you open that up a little bit?
Sure. Let me get it off weekly and put it back on your daily.
Yeah, that's a pretty big spike to overcome for the silver, but stranger things have happened, and it definitely
Which
looks
spike
a
are you
lot
referring
better.
to, John? You talking about this one? Or
No, when you had the daily on it, looked like or the weekly. I don't know whether it was a weekly or a daily, but
well, I had it
a pretty
weekly. Let
big
me go back and look and see what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's already.
Oh, yeah. No, that is. Yeah, that's not bullish, folks. No,
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. It's not.
It could get back to 18 and a half, somewhere like that, and then it might run into trouble. But have a look at the USLV.
Hey, I listened to a great podcast the other day. It's called Darknet Diaries. I mean, it's an
Can you
ongoing.
put that to a daily?
Yeah, it's an ongoing series, but they talk about Sheldon Adelson. That's his name, right? The guy that owns the Las Vegas Sands and all of those properties. Anyway, this Darknet Diaries, it's about hacking exploits, different people on the internet. It's just different people's stories, and they've turned it into a podcast. It's pretty good. And all of Sheldon's properties, because of his political leanings, the whole complex got hacked. I don't want to spoil it, but Darknet Diaries, guys, just Google it and have a listen. All right, what am I doing here?
Could you go to daily?
Daily, yes, sir. Here we go. There you go.
Yeah, if you remember, we said it looked like a good buy down in the low 90s. This instrument, obviously,
The fact that it
getting
overcame this is kind of impressive.
getting over 100 again is a pretty big deal, and I wouldn't rule out a run up to 130 again on this. So I think the silver is really strong right now. It's up 12 cents, and the gold's up $3, and the platinum. Yeah.
Silver futures. That price look right to you? So this chart doesn't
It's
look right.
continuous. I don't think you got the December up there.
Yeah, let me get December up. Oh, come on now. Silver futures. Okay, December. All right. Now it's
Yeah,
looking
it's
better.
better. Yeah, I mean, it looks look, it's got a lot to overcome, but
Yes.
if there's a sudden gap up, you know, if this, I mean, if the futures, if the silver and gold go crazy on the Feds, whatever they do, you know, that would be you know, it might be enough to get this, you know, the thing could be up in $1 in a day. It already did it once. It could do it again, you know. It would turn the whole thing very bullish if that happened, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Also, could you check out the palladium?
Sure.
Double L.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Palladium. That's just straight palladium.
Yeah, it's about to go to new all-time highs. This palladium, which again is usually happens before a big move in gold.
Why do you think that is? I know some things
Don't know. It's
just
just
are. But,
well, because palladium is a leading indicator. You know, it's remember it went from 8 to 1600, and now the next stop looks like 2000 to 2400, and it might be a good time to look at the platinum as well, and the copper actually.
platinum. Okay, here's platinum. I remember the day
I
that
think
we
the
did
platinum,
this.
the platinum is could be actually a lower risk buy than the gold. Listen, there is a
that thing's
chance.
just shy of $1,000. That all-time high. That's an all-time high, right?
No, well, it's a high for the year, but
What is the all-time? Oh, okay, I see it.
yeah, but I think, you know, look, this actually could lead to some. There is a chance that the gold and silver could have one more leg down, both of them. You know, could take the gold back to
That's one heck of a V
something.
bottom right there. Look at that.
Yeah. No, I think the platinum is set to go big time. Definitely be buying dips on the platinum and definitely buying breakouts to the upside. Because look, if the palladium starts getting over 1600, I mean, they're probably going to have to start using more platinum for catalytic converters.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's the Chinese, I think, are using catalytic converters more and more now. I'm not sure if they're mandatory, but they're definitely using them more. And so probably the rest of the world is moving that way. So if you could check out the copper, the copper.
Electric vehicles, I'm not a car guy, but electric vehicles don't need catalytic converters. That's
True.
Part of the exhaust system. I'm just, because all of these candidates are talking about mandating, well, there's some, what show was I watching? There's some countries that have already got it. It's all their cars have to be electric by, I don't know, is it 2040?
Yeah.
2025? I don't remember.
Did you see Trump's New Mexico?
Yeah, I watched a good part of it. I didn't see it all.
That was a pretty good rally. I thought it was a pretty good speech.
They're all pretty good. I mean, you know, he's developed the knack. Sometimes he pushes it a little further than I would, you know, suggest. But hey, he's the president and I'm not. But he's just got a knack for talking to the people and just relating to them. I mean, I've never seen anyone speak in superlatives in such a superlative way as he does. He just nails it. Everything's the biggest.
Yeah, no,
he's got a real positive outlook on life.
Yeah, he's going to go down in history as one of the greatest orators of all time. You know, greatest orators.
Yeah, that was a Freudian slip. You said oracle, and maybe he is. You know, so.
Yeah. So the other thing is he got a tremendous reaction from the Hispanics that were there last night.
Yes, he did.
That's a very big deal. I think they're a hidden force, as are the Black Americans. I mean, listen, Twitter is just absolutely overflowing with all kinds of people who never, people who were all Trumpers before, who have gone over anti-Dem now, and there's a real movement going on. And I think this guy, Brad Pascal,
Not familiar with him.
he's the 2020 campaign manager.
Okay.
He's got this thing pretty much, I think all of the things he's doing have never been done before politically, and I think he's so far ahead of everybody else that it really, really, improves Trump's chances. Also,
Sean
this guy-
Spicer made his debut last night on Dancing with the Stars. My wife really likes that show, and so being a good husband, I watch it with her. They put him in this. They're not going to. They put him in this shirt.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it reminded me of that shirt from Seinfeld when Jerry had to wear the puffy shirt on whatever talk show that was. Anyway, yeah, the man he can't dance. I'm sorry.
See.
His partner
Sorry,
was pretty
Sean,
good. Chris Ruddy, Trump's friend at Newsmax, he says he's come up with proof that all these polls are being manipulated.
Yeah, I believe that. I've never trusted him ever.
Well,
Before I didn't trust government, I
Rasmussen,
didn't trust surveys and polls.
We've said it a million times on this show. The Rasmussen is the poll to watch, and Trump's at 50% right now on the Rasmussen, or at least he was yesterday, and he jumped up from about 46 to 50 pretty quick. And you never know, he might be about ready to break out to the upside here, because he was up in the Zogby poll 51%. That's the first time that's ever happened. So, and another thing is the country 40. There's two different. Are we going in the right direction type polls? The Rasmussen says 42%.
Do you trust this Real Clear Politics?
Why? What are they saying?
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard you mention them in particular.
The only one I trust is Rasmussen, IBD, and the other one is Los Angeles Times.
You need to get
Listen, I
that.
better run. But thanks,
All right, John.
Thanks.
All right, thanks
Okay.
very much. All right, bye-bye. Okie doke. All right. Okay, so the pound triggered. I'll get a stop loss assigned and in place, published as soon as the show ends, which won't be too terribly long. But, okay, we've recapped Crude. Again, Concierge Trade Alert. If you didn't get a screenshot before, I'm going to drag it back up. So I got to find it again. Here we go. So I'm dragging it back up. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. So triggered at 60.60, and we put in a swing low at 58.74. So we did the math. It's about $1,800 per contract traded. When a price goes from $61 to $60, when the price of crude makes a $1 move, if you're trading one contract, that is either a $1,000 profit or a $1,000 loss, okay? $1 move equates to $1,000 for the trader per contract traded. So we remarked how this came back up, and it touched the trigger, right? Went over it by one tick, but we didn't touch the WTZ. And on the 30 minutes, that's my go-to chart, we didn't touch the BBC yet. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking we've now touched the WTZ. We very well may touch the BBC. But for now, that is the next high probability move. Period. Of course, now that's based on our methodology, the way we see the markets. Okay, if you're looking at the market through a different lens than we do, your next high probability move could be different. But from where we sit, from where we understand how markets work, for us, another leg to the downside. All right, so let's say that happens. Let's say price just does go up, it does touch the BBC, and then we begin that down leg. This red and falling CFMA1, if we pull up to touch, I'm going to suggest that that will change the CFMA1 to blue, and it'll start climbing a little bit. Okay, so as price comes down, that blue and climbing CFMA1 is a place for potentially good support. Okay, if it can get through that, then the next obvious area for potential support is here at 58.75. So let's say it touches, you're able to get in. Now, because you have a zone right here, this is a current weekly zone, 67. I don't normally put the zones out until Thursday for the community at large, because it is something for the partners and passport holders, but every now and then I put them out earlier, leak one out, and so that's what's happened here. Oh, you know what? I wrote that down wrong. No, I didn't. No. The zone is 60-70. The CTA was 60-60. Okay. All right. So we come up, we begin the leg down. Let's say you catch an entry. We'll just throw a number out there, 60-60. Oh, yeah, okay. You know what? Let's make it 60-50. Okay. So if we go back to challenge this low from 60-50, Alexa, 60-50 minus 58.80.
6,050 minus 5,880 is 170.
Okay, so it'll be a $1,700 move back to challenge the low. If that's how it unfolds, and we do come down to test this area, one of two things will happen. It will hold and create a bounce, which would take us back to the BBC, where we would expect it to be good resistance until it isn't, and then another leg to the downside. It could plow right through it. In fact, the next weekly zone, I can justify giving them out early to the community at large today for the benefit of the radio audience because of the unusual nature of crude this week. Next zone down, 58.10. 58.10/15. Okay. Alexa, what's 60-70 minus 58.15?
6,017 minus 5,815 is 202.
Okay, so that's a $2,000 from this zone to this zone. $2,000 per contract move. Now, price is always trying to get to a weekly trading zone. From the moment markets open, Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, till they close for the week, Friday afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern, price is always trying to get to a weekly trading zone. It's either trying to get to the one above or the one below. Plain and simple. Okay? If you're able to discern, and this is one of the things that we teach you, when you're able to discern which zone price is currently trying to get to. That is a huge definable edge. Huge. Let's see. As long as price stays below the BBC, we anticipate lower prices. When price is above the BBC, we anticipate higher prices. So my ability to teach you to discern which zone price is currently trying to get to, that session shouldn't take us too long, okay? It's about as simple as it gets. Now, trading's not easy, never has been, never will be, but it can be simple. Based on what I just said, after I teach you this, I should be able to put a blindfold on you, spin you around 10 times, sit you down in a chair, take the blindfold off, and flash a chart on the screen, any market, any time frame, and you should be able to, like that, tell us exactly which zone price is trying to get to. I mean, once you understand, again, it's not easy, but it's simple, right? Whole lot of man hours, blood, sweat, and tears has gone into developing the weekly trading zone strategy. First, you had to understand the principle, and then but now, through the use of our indicators and the entire narrative, the entire methodology of how we see markets. Now, does price always accomplish its objective? No. Price can change its mind. Price can be obviously trying to do one thing, and then all of a sudden it does a different thing. Okay? Like here, when price closed below this weekly trading zone, if you had no other information to work with, all you had was this. And maybe you don't even have that. All you got is these two zones. When price closes below this zone, clearly price is trying to get to the zone below. Okay. However, look what happened here. Price sliced through the zone. Remember, only three things can happen when price encounters a weekly trading zone. The most likely thing is consolidation. That's what you see over and over and over. Second most likely is rejection, which is what you see right here. And the third and least likely, but it does happen, is the slice. And when price slices through a weekly trading zone as if it weren't even there, what we anticipate happening when that leg runs out of steam, we anticipate a retracement to the zone that we sliced through, and then a continuation in the direction of the slice. That's exactly what we have unfolding here. And that's what we anticipate every time we get a slice. Now, as price came down, we expect this zone, as price is coming down, we expect this to be good support until it isn't. Well, this is what it looks like when it isn't. So it failed to hold as good support. So the next step, as we pulled back, now the question is, okay, you did not service as good support zone. Will you be good resistance? And so far, it's passed the test. So far, I mean, we're not very far into the move, but leg, retrace, leg. So the question now that we've come back up and we've touched the zone, physically touched it, you should, just based on what I've said today in this radio show, if you'd never heard any of this stuff before, you should be able to look at this chart and go, all right, well, price is trying to get to the zone below. And remember, the dollar value of a move from here to here is a couple grand per contract. Now, never trade more contracts than you've earned the right to trade. Now, if you earned the money, if whatever money's in your trading account, if you earned that money in some other industry, some other business, you inherited it, whatever, that's not what I mean by earning the right. No. In fact, we don't recommend that you even go live, not just with our methodology, but with anything you ever try. Don't throw real money at it until you first prove to yourself, and you don't have to prove nothing to nobody else, but prove to yourself that with this methodology, the strategy, whatever it is, that you can be consistently profitable. Only then do you have the right to trade one live contract. Now, that's how we see it. Now, that may seem draconian, but Michael and I, and Valerie, all of us here, we've seen so many people come to us beaten, battered, bruised, just a litany of blown up accounts behind them. We've suffered it ourselves, but we're reminded of it every day. That somebody comes along, comes through, makes a phone call, sends an email, almost on a daily basis, with one of these horrific stories from the dark side of trading. If you don't heed my words, you will wish you had heeded my words. I'm not the end-all, be-all authority on Emini Futures trading. Not by a long stretch. But I promise you, the words I say are true. That was real money in my account that was gone back in 2005. And it was real money in 2006. And you know what? If I had just continued to shove more money into that trading account and continued to do what I was doing, I would have continued to get the same results, and I'd still be blowing up accounts today. I had to put a stop on it, right? I had to say, whoa, this is not. If this is trading, I don't want any part of it, right? But I knew there was more. I knew there was a way. And honestly, it was a real mystery to me. Now, it used to just mystify me that somebody could bring up a chart like this, just any chart, and go, oh, that looks very bullish. I remember sitting there going, really? I understood that bullish meant, prices are going to go higher, and I understood bearish meant prices go lower. If you don't know why that is, when a bull attacks you, hope he never does, he lowers his head and comes up to hook you with his horns. Bullish. The way a bear attacks you is he rears up on his hind legs with his claws out, and then he comes down and does his job on you. In case you never knew, that's where the terms bullish and bearish come from. Bullish up, bearish down. So, in the early days of the radio show, 2005, John would be on the show. And we didn't have charts on the radio show way back then, but I was looking at my charts, he was looking at his charts, and he would say something like, wow, look at the bullish setup on whatever. And all I could do is go, wow, that's awesome, right? I had no clue what I was talking about, no clue what he was talking about. But I learned, right? It takes time. So if you're out there, you're trying to learn, you feel overwhelmed because, oh my goodness, every time you turn around, there's some new word, some new terminology, some new idea, some new concept. And just when you think you got it all together, somebody screams, it's rollover day. And then you just fall apart because you don't even know what that means. Rollover? I'm not sleeping, right? Yeah. Don't freak out, okay? Take some pressure off yourself. Get out of that live account. Get into Sim, okay? Take it one day at a time. Now, if you choose to hang out with us, you're not going to get hit with new terms, new ideas, and new principles on a daily basis, or weekly or monthly. We understand what it is we do. It's simple by design, okay? Now, I could fluff it up, put some lipstick on it, and make it really complicated, really convoluted. But why would I want to do that? Because we worked really hard to make it simple by design. So yes, your first week or two with us, the terms, the wording, the ideas, concepts, principles, they're going to be foreign. But if you pay attention and take notes, about the beginning of your second week, it's going to dawn on you that you haven't heard anything new in the last couple days. Because really, in the course of 1 2-hour live training room, you're probably going to hear just about everything that we have in our little toolbox. You're going to hear BBC and CFMA1 and WTZ. And, when people start slinging initials at me, foreign things that I don't understand, that rattles me a little bit. But I figure out what it means. I jot it down. Now I know it. It doesn't freak me out anymore. So I just want to say there's not an endless array of stuff coming down the pike. If you hang with us, you can hear the same words over and over, day after day, week after week, month after month. And same thing with the radio show here. I've been doing a recap of what happened with the Concierge Trade Alerts every day for years, just as Michael has done a recap here on the show each day of what happened in the live training room. If you go to youtube.com/CFRN, scroll back a couple years, bring up a daily radio show, play it, fast forward up to where Michael does his recap. You would swear it was today or yesterday. And it's what you'll hear tomorrow. Same words, same concept, same principle, same indicators, same everything. And if you fast forward a little more to where I'm doing a recap of the Concierge Trade Alerts, my wording, my delivery, everything's the same because nothing has changed. Now, markets, every day, they do the same thing today they did yesterday, but they just do it in a little different way. What's important is that you learn how markets work. Now, if you were to believe a lot of the stuff out there on the internet, they would convince you pretty quickly that it's so complicated. That, sorry, but someone like you, you're never going to understand all this. This is high finance. You need a degree from Harvard or someplace. It's not true. It's not true. Okay? Trading, not easy, but it can be simple. What you want to make sure you do, especially if you're new, before you get a lot of bad habits and bad ideas and untruths, get a firm foundation of truth underneath you. Market truth. I said earlier when I was reading that thing from 2012, that's a real good example. Let me bring that back up. that wasn't the browser I was using. Oh, there we go. So which day was I on? Oh, hang on. Right here. Now this was written in 2012. Life's funny that way, but the facts may change, but truth never does. So what I'm suggesting and encouraging, look at that thing go. Now, this is live in real time. I'm not playing back a replay. Did I know this was going to happen? Well, let me just be honest with you. No. Did I know this was the next high probability move? Well, if you're listening to this after the fact, via podcast, recording on YouTube, whatever, then back it up a little bit. We knew, based upon our methodology, through the lens with which we see markets, we knew this was the next high probability move. Now, as I said just a few minutes ago, the market does not always do the next high probability thing. Sometimes we get surprised. Sometimes the market changes its mind. Now, when I say the market changes its mind, what am I really saying? Okay. These people right here, when they change, when enough of them change their mind to change order flow. See, right now, I mean, these numbers change so fast. This is why I tell you guys, don't try to trade off of these numbers. I know folks have, volume analysis type things, and they trade the markets based on volume, and I'm not knocking that. I'm not trying to invalidate it. I'm just saying we don't use it, okay? It doesn't make it bad. It just means we don't use it. Now, if you looked here and you saw 200 contracts over here, and you saw 1,000 over here, would that be meaningful? Yeah, it would. It really would. It'd be incredibly meaningful. But you look back in 30 seconds, and it could be 1,000 over here and 200 over here. It can change that fast. It's the men and women and institutions and computers and algorithms and all of that making buy and sell decisions. That's what changes order flow. Not an indicator, not a weekly trading zone. I really hope you understand what I just said, okay? Sunday night, when I did the weekly trading zones, if order flow is dictated by the buyers and sellers and the decisions that they make, how then, pray tell, could I have known that on Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon on the 1 p.m. Eastern 30-minute candle, how could I have possibly known the price was going to pull up to 60.70? Kind of seems like I do know the future, don't it? But I don't. And I'll never try to convince you otherwise. I've always said, you may not like what I tell you, but I'll always tell you the truth. The truth as I understand it. Okay? Knowing what the next high probability move is and knowing what's going to happen next are worlds apart. They don't reside in the same zip code. Okay? Now, is this really a $2,000 move? Yeah. Alexa, 60.70 minus 58.15.
6,017 minus 5,815 is 202.
Okay, so that's a $2,200 per contract move. If price, we got a swing low so far of 58.50. If it makes it
A
down to
response from an Amazon customer.
Alexa,
about
stop.
Jim King-
I don't know why she does that sometimes, but anyway. All right, so I guess we need to move on. We can only talk about this so long. If anything I said struck a chord, you want to discuss it, you want to talk about it, you want more information, you can always book. If you're not a partner, now partners and passport holders, the door to my office is always open, literally around the clock. If you're not a partner or passport holder, I will still spend one mentoring session with you at no cost. Not so I can pitch you and twist your arm and try to put you in this beauty today. I don't do that. It's kind of funny. Sometimes I'm in a mentoring session with someone who has not joined the family yet, and they're anticipating the pitch and the close, and it's almost humorous and sometimes I'll go, you're waiting for me to try to close this deal, aren't you? And they don't know what to say. They laugh. Well, I guess I'm not going to. Oh, you aren't taking any new people? Oh yeah, we are. I'm going to have Valerie send you a price sheet and a spec sheet. We have three things that we offer: partner, passport holder, and now the logical swing trader. I'll have Valerie send you a price list and a spec sheet for what we offer. And then once you digest that, if you have any more questions for me, let Valerie know, and you and I'll get back together. We'll either do another go-to meeting like this, or we can just talk over the phone. But I want you to have all the information so that you can make a well-informed decision. And they're just waiting for that other shoe to drop. It's just how we do it. I think it's the right way to do it. I'm going to be honest with you. In those go-to meeting rooms, I get some pretty vulnerable people sometimes. They still got some money, but things are looking not so good. They could be having financial problems in other areas of their life. Maybe there's health issues going on in the family, and they really need to make some money, right? Yeah, it would be so easy to manipulate some of those situations. But I like to sleep at night, and someday I'm going to face the living God. And let me just say, I've done enough bad crap in my life already. I don't need to. I don't need to give the prosecution any more evidence at this point. I'm just trying to do, some decent things. Try to make up, I guess. So, don't ever not take advantage of my invitation to do a one-on-one mentoring session at no charge, so you can get more information. Because I won't sell you anything. You're free to buy whatever you want, whenever you want. And anybody in the audience that wants to buy something, if you want to buy something today, call 949-42-EMINI, 949-42-EMINI, or call support@cfrn.net. Send an email to support@cfrn.net and just say, hey, Miss Valerie, I want to buy something today. What y'all got? She'll send you a price sheet and a spec sheet. And then you can make a well-informed decision, what's right for you. All right? All right, let's get through the rest of these real quick. We'll try to peek back on Crude before the sessions, or before I sign off. High probability. I hope you understand that when you know, not the future, because none of us can, but when you know with great certainty what the next high probability thing is, that has to be the most powerful, definable edge anyone could ever have in the markets. All right, S&P. Now, Concierge Trade Alerts came out at 6:30. So that's going to be that candle right there. Let's see what happens. On the S&P, we wanted to be long 30.15 and above. We wanted to be short 29.89. So what happened? Nada. No triggers on the S&P last night. Sideways roll. All right, the Dow. 27155, no trigger. 27060, trigger. All right. Okay, 27060. All right. So from 270.60 to 270.30. All right, so this first move, 30 points, $5 per point, $150 per contract traded. We know important prices, important areas are almost always tested. So what does price do? Gets back above the trigger. It's stopped in its tracks by a weekly trading zone from last week. The very weekly trading zone from last week, that price has been oscillating above and below, above and below, and above and below since the Sunday night gap lower open. Okay, so it pulls up, confirms good resistance, down we go, and the swing low on this move took us to 270.11. Alexa, 270.60 minus 270.11.
27,016 minus 27,011 is 5.
No, I messed that up. All right, you get the point. It's, we'll call it 10. So it'd be 50. Yeah, a 50-point move, $5 per point, $250 per contract traded. So 150 available here, 250 available here per contract, and then price gets back above the trigger. And from 270.60, we drop to 26,985. So that's going to be 75. Alexa, what's 75 times 5?
75 times 5 is 375.
All right, so this is a $375 per contract move. Price gets back above the trigger. And now we go again. So that's a 42-point move times $5 per contract. It's called $200 per contract traded. Now we just poked up above the trigger again. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4 triggers. Working on number 5 right now. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. When you hear me say, like, this is not your father's swing trade, most swing trades that you look at, if you've ever subscribed to some kind of service or something, there's a point A and a point B. You get in here, you get out here. End of story. Okay. Ours are different because what we typically see is stuff like this. We'll trigger and make a run, get back above the trigger, make a run, back above the trigger, make a run, back above the trigger, make a run, and then we either make the run for the roses or we don't. Mark Douglas taught, and now I teach, learn to pay yourself as the market makes money available. It's simple for a new trader with a smaller account to experience being live and trading multiple contracts with the new micro E-minis from the CME. They are 1/10 the size of a regular E-mini. S&P E-mini pays $50 per point. The S&P micro E-mini pays $5 per point. To hold a trade open from one session to the next on the S&P E-mini requires over $6,000 in margin. The same trade, but on the micro E-mini, it's 600 and change margin to hold it open from one session to the next. Okay? Okay. Russell. On the Russell. Consider being short 1582. That's about right here. 1582. Swing low. 15, call it 72. So 10-point drop, $50 per point, $500 per contract traded. Important prices, important areas, though we're back above the trigger, and then we don't get much of a drop. Swing low on this drop is, we'll call it 78. No, that actually is. That's 4 points. It's a 4-point move at $50 a point, $200 per contract traded. So we have a big move, we got a smaller move, and now looks like we're triggering again. Crude, we already covered. Crude, we already covered in depth. Next would be gold. Let me put this back on a 30-minute. Okay. On gold, Concierge Trade Alert said to consider being long 1512. So that's right there. Okay. So the initial move took us up to 1513.40, so that's $140 per contract traded. Back below the trigger, back to weekly trading zone from last week. Confirm it as good support. Off we go again. And this time we make it to 1515, so that's $300 per contract traded. In Q. Now again, these are last week's zones. Partners had them, passport holders had them. 6:15 a.m. Monday morning. All right. Last night in Q, consider being long at 79.11. We have not seen 79.11. Consider being short 78.55. Swing low was 51.50. $78.55. Now, what in the parlance, that's not a good bingo. All right. So you stopped out. Happens. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, so far this week, week 59. Hang on. I got it? Yeah, got it. So far this week, remember we start Sunday night 6 p.m. Eastern when Globex opens. And I often hear people make remarks about, well, Globex is cute, but, you can't really trade it. There's not enough volume. Well, that was true a decade ago, okay? It's just not true anymore. There's plenty of tradable activity on Globex. Let me make my case here real quick. All right, this is a 30-minute chart. I was speaking with a gentleman yesterday, and he goes, well, I'm sure on the Globex, all you can trade is like maybe the euro or something. And I said, no, that's not true. He goes, well, I've heard, I know what you've heard. I know what you've read, too. It's just not true. A lot of stuff on the internet that just ain't true. All right, these are volume bars down here. We're on a 30-minute chart. So at 11 o'clock last night, Eastern, from 11 p.m. Eastern to 11:30 p.m. Eastern, in 30 minutes, the S&P traded 4,625 contracts. At 1 a.m., from 1 a.m. Eastern to 1:30 a.m. Eastern, the S&P traded 4,720 contracts. At 4 in the morning, 4 a.m. Eastern, we're all sleeping, right? Well, some of us. In 30 minutes, at 4 o'clock in the morning, we traded almost 14,000 contracts. So we know there's just plenty of volume to trade the S&P. Not everybody trades the S&P. Let's peek in on crude. Okay. So at midnight at the Oasis, 1,676 crude contracts traded in a 30-minute period. 1,006. That's, unless you're trading 10,000 contracts a day, if you're like an ordinary person, like me and everybody else here, then that's more than enough. If we back it up to 10 o'clock last night, 10 p.m., that's about as flat as it gets. In that 30-minute period of time, there were 6,375 contracts traded. At 4 a.m. this morning, from 4 a.m. to 4:30, 17,000 crude contracts changed hands. So the next time somebody tells you that there's not enough volume on the Globex overnight session to be a participant, suggest that they go get their facts straight. Okay? Gold. Last night at midnight, from midnight to midnight 30, 629 contracts traded hands. So if you're trading 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 or 20, is that enough to cover you? Yeah, it is. At 2 a.m. Eastern, 8,000 gold contracts traded hands in a 30-minute period of time. I rest my case. All right. Now, back to week 59. That's the week we're on right now, okay? This current week. Since Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we've issued 30 alerts. 3 never triggered. They're actually designated and marked no trigger. 9 are still awaiting a trigger. We've had 18 actionable alerts so far. 15 of them found a price target. 3 of them were stopped out. That gives us 17% of actionable alerts this week stopped out. 2 weeks ago it was 0, not normal. Last week it was 10%, not normal. What you're seeing this week is more normal. Over the past year, we've averaged 20% of alerts being stopped out. Okay? All right. And so far this week, here's the Sunday night Globex Open, beginning of week 59. Last week we had 65 alerts issued, 5 never triggered, 1 carried over. We have 59 actionable alerts. 53 found a target, price target. 6 got stopped out, 10%. Not a normal week. Okay. So Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 6:03. This is Pacific time, but 6:03 Eastern. Our first alert went out, got stopped out. Okay. And we had crude and the Dow and the Russell and the NQ and gold. There's the S&P again and the Dow, and the Russell and the NQ and gold all again. There's the pound, the euro, copper, crude. Thumbs up means it found a price target. Z's means we've designated as a no trigger. And everything that's not marked, it's still awaiting a trigger. And that brings us up to where we are right here, right now. Okay? If you have any questions on any of that, get a hold of us. We're available pretty much around the clock. Whatever your question is, you want to get in on the trial. If you haven't taken a trial in the last 6 months, you're invited to take a trial. One trial every 6 months. If you want to take the trial, get a hold of Valerie, or just go to eminitrainingschool.com. Name, email address, and then she'll send you out the information you need to join us. Okay? If you want a price sheet, spec sheet, again, just get a hold of Valerie, and she'll take very good care of you. All right? All right. Good word for the day. We've been talking about overcoming stress. The silent killer, I think I've heard it called. Mark 6:31. Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. I can't stress this enough as we are talking about stress. You gotta take time out to enjoy life. Otherwise, what's the point? Jesus did. Because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat. He said to them, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place. We'll get some rest. Jesus not only took time for relaxation and recreation, he essentially told those who'd been working hard without relief, you deserve a break today. Oh, that's where that came from. Let's get some rest. Let's take time off. So they got into the boat. Yeah, Jesus had a boat, apparently. Rowed to the other side of the lake and went out into the desert. Jesus was able to handle stress because he knew when to relax. Rest and recreation in life aren't optional, and they're definitely not unspiritual. Rest is so important that God included it in the 10 Commandments. The Sabbath was made for mankind because God knows our physical, emotional, and spiritual constitutions demand regular, periodic breaks. Jesus survived stress because he enjoyed life. J.B. Phillips' paraphrase puts it like this: the Son of Man came, enjoying life. Matthew 11:19. And in 1 Timothy 6:17, Paul tells us that God has richly provided everything for our enjoyment. So balance is really the key to stress management. Today, if you feel it's kind of burned out, check 2 things. Number 1, are you drawing daily on God's grace, or are you depending upon yourself? Are you running on his strength or yours? Now, that applies to everybody, but especially those of you who may be involved in ministry. I've seen so many, so passionate, so on fire, and so burned out. The key is running on his strength, not your own. Because you will get tired. You will wear out. You do need rest. You do need relaxation. But the good news is while you're resting, while you're relaxing, he'll carry the load. Number 2, do you regularly set aside time for rest and relaxation? Now, the word recreation means restore, refresh, or create anew. Are you getting this picture? If you burn out, what use will you be to God's kingdom, to your family, or even to yourself? So the good word for the day is you deserve a break today. Take it. Enjoy it. Don't worry about the every day, because every day will take care of itself. When you set aside time to relax and recreate, make sure you actually do that. Maybe, I know this is a stretch, but maybe you just turn the phone off for a few hours. That includes the tablet, the PC, and the Mac. Okay, you can keep Alexa on because you probably want to listen to some music while you're recreating. All right, I'll approve that. Okay, you get the point? All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.